9. The Craigslist roommate. You should always be extra careful about who you meet on the internet, and you probably shouldn't let them move into your home, no matter how desperate you are for rent money. 3 years after the incident, a Miami man who brutally beat his new roommate after meeting her online was finally sentenced to life behind bars. 39-year-old Byron Mitchell was found guilty by a jury of attempted murder and false imprisonment in the 2016 incident that left 23-year-old Danielle Jones in a coma for several weeks. Jones found Mitchell through a Craigslist ad for a roommate. "Rent is almost due. I'm gonna lose my home. Gonna get evicted. That'll ruin my life. And he seemed like a nice person," Jones said. So she let Mitchell move into her Miami apartment. But just 2 weeks later, on Valentine's Day, Mitchell allegedly put his hands around her neck and choked Jones. After he choked her, he then beat her head into the floor. Mitchell claimed Jones attacked him with a knife and he was simply defending himself. At Mitchell's trial, a very emotional Jones testified that Mitchell was the first person to respond to the ad. She desperately needed a roommate, and he seemed like a nice enough guy. Jones's mother said her daughter now has PTSD and severe trauma from brain injuries. Nightmares occur more often than not, and she's now terrified of strangers. 8. Dirt bike murder. A father's life was cut short, and his kid's life will never be the same again. A suspect in the murder of a man who was just trying to sell a dirt bike on Craigslist has been found guilty of armed robbery and first-degree murder. Dante Johnson was arrested in 2017 after shooting and killing 44-year-old James Beck in front of Beck's son, Stuart. Johnson and another man, Ramontre Williams, responded to the ad the father posted on Craigslist. When Beck and his son showed up to show Johnson the bike, Johnson handed Beck some cash, but it wasn't the same amount they had initially agreed upon before the meet. Stewart was one of the first witnesses to take the stand during the trial. He said his dad handed Johnson back his money when he realized it was short. That's when Johnson pulled out a gun and pointed it at the father-son duo. James and Stewart ran back to their truck to try and escape. He had turned the ignition over, got the truck started, and the firearm was shot by the taller individual, Stewart testified. The defense tried to shift the blame to Ramontre Williams during the trial, but Williams had already cut a deal with the state in exchange for his testimony against Johnson. When he learned just how much trouble he was really getting into, he decided to point the finger at someone else, Mr. Johnson, a defense attorney said. The jury was not persuaded, though. Dante Johnson is now facing first-degree murder for the death of James Beck and will probably spend the rest of his life in prison. His partner Williams pleaded guilty to his involvement in the crime and was sentenced to 12 years in jail and an additional 10 years probation. 7. Hairdresser horror. Craigslist is a one-stop shop for all your lifestyle needs. You can apply for a job, post a vacancy, or advertise your services there. One person who did the latter was Miriam Simpson, a 35-year-old hairstylist living in New Jersey. She made her business traveling to people's homes to cut and style their hair in exchange for money, but not every customer is going to love their new look. An incident reportedly broke out in 2016 when someone said they didn't like the new haircut they'd received. We're not quite sure how it happened, but apparently an argument broke out that ended very badly for the client. Simpson pepper sprayed her. While it isn't uncommon for women to carry pepper spray, the stuff tends to be used in extreme circumstances. This is the first time we've heard of it being applied during a home hairdressing visit. When Simpson was brought into custody, she was charged with aggravated assault and unlawful possession. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But when you can't see because your face is full of pepper spray, that idea goes out the window. 6. Rent arrangement. In 2018, a sleazy landlord in Wales was caught on camera promoting a sex-for-rent bargain in a disturbing undercover clip. The man posted an ad titled "Reduced Deposit/Rent Arrangement" or "Alternative Payments for Potential Tenants." The landlord was unmasked when undercover investigator Cian Thomas responded to the ad as a possible renter and met with him in person to negotiate the arrangement. The gross man was captured on tape offering sex in exchange for rent. He was clearly heard saying that he wants to help out and suggesting a friends with benefits arrangement. The man then offers his one bedroom for free in exchange for weekly sex. This issue, termed sex for rent, is growing more frequent in Wales, with many people advertising their home on Craigslist under the pretense of alternative payments negotiable. A man had put up an ad offering a free bedroom in Cardiff for a female with whom I can come to an arrangement. Another ad for a two-bedroom home near Newport said, "Rent greatly reduced in return for favors." Although posting these ads on classified sites is permissible, the Ministry of Justice claims that this kind of arrangement is forbidden under the Sexual Offences Act 2003. It is a crime to induce or incite somebody to become a prostitute, according to the law. Have you come across a similar Craigslist ad? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. 5. Nothing out of the ordinary. In 2019, Luther Burris had posted an ad on Craigslist to sell his V8-powered 2005 Chrysler. A potential buyer called him, and they planned to meet in the parking garage of the St. Louis Park housing complex where Burris worked as a caretaker. The buyer showed up with a woman Burris believed to be his wife. They asked all the right questions, like how it drove, was there enough power, any damages or issues. All basic questions. I've sold and bought vehicles off Craigslist and it didn't seem anything was out of the ordinary, Burris said. Then the couple asked Burris if they could take a test drive, which was also custom. He agreed and they gave him keys to their lesser model car in exchange to ensure their return. Again, perfectly reasonable. But unfortunately for Burris, the couple never came back. Once it dawned on him that he got ripped off, he called the police. Detectives determined the car they left behind had been reported stolen, and there was at least one additional plate that belonged to a third stolen vehicle inside. Surveillance cameras were able to capture cars that were coming and going, but failed to get a clean shot of the thieves. I don't think it was their first time. Obviously, with as many stolen tags on the vehicle, it definitely wasn't their first or second time, Burris said. In the end, he was left without a car, and the suspects are still at large. 4. Thief caught selling smartphone. Things didn't go well for India Carmouche, a youngster from Slidell, Louisiana, whose master plan of making a few quick bucks from a stolen phone backfired. What was potentially supposed to be a lucrative theft ended up getting her arrested in 2015. India snatched a smartphone from a customer at Walmart who had carelessly left their phone on top of a water cooler while browsing another shelf. Not long after she stole the phone, she posted an ad on Craigslist to try and sell it. India never anticipated that the person she stole the phone from would be looking on Craigslist for a new device. The victim saw the ad and recognized her phone. She immediately notified local authorities, initiating an inquiry by an undercover officer acting as a curious client. The potential buyer then revealed his identity as a police officer, to which India responded by trying to flee the scene and run away, something that obviously never ends well. She was apprehended and arrested for possession of stolen property and resisting arrest. 3. PS2 Slim came roach-infested. Viruses and bugs in games are nothing new, but actual real live creepy-crawly bugs inside a gaming system is something entirely different. A gamer that goes by Victorious1 responded to a Craigslist ad for a new PS2 after his own went out on him. He was super pumped when he found a replacement so quickly and also so cheap. He should have known it was too good to be true. But not long after he bought the PS2 from the ad, it also stopped working. He thought maybe he could fix it. But when he opened it up to get a look inside and have a look, he didn't find a virus or a loose wire. He found dead cockroaches, roach waste, and roach eggs. When he opened it, he was beyond shocked to find dead cockroaches, roach eggs, and waste in almost every corner of the gaming console. He said that eggs were all over the place. Yuck. Despite this horrible discovery, Victorious One saw the bright side and credited the hardware for having lasted so long. He stated that the PS2 is continually in use, as the prior owner said, until the roast infestation took over, which was only 2 days before the buy. The unfortunate gamer swore that his home was spotless. He said, "I guess it's time to wash my hands and vacuum the effing carpet." We hope he does. 2. Duped. In the year 2017, a defenseless autistic guy was scammed out of £30,900, $41,000, by a Craigslist conwoman. Roger Willis, the victim, responded to an online ad by 40-year-old Helen Williams of Bridge Street, Caernarfon. Helen was a drug addict. Roger, who was described as an easy target for scammers, was guaranteed a £5 million gain on his investment by Helen. Roger responded to a Craigslist post in 2017 and paid £75 initially, $100. But then Helen demanded more. Prosecuting counsel Anna Price said in court Helen told Roger she was having problems with her landlord and she was being threatened. She said she had been taken hostage, beaten, and dumped in the woods. He did exactly as she asked and continued to transfer money into Helen's account. Eventually, Roger's wife advised him to inform the police after Helen started making calls to him. However, he continued to send money to her in the vain hope that the fund existed, as well as out of genuine worry for Helen. Price further stated, he felt an overpowering sense of bitterness and regret. It affected his mental health, and it had a devastating impact on his relationship with his wife. He was diagnosed with terminal cancer at the time filing his statement. Sadly, Roger didn't live long enough to witness justice take its course. According to the prosecution, 3 of the offenses, including those disguising herself as her 70-year-old mother on Facebook. After stating she had significant financial troubles, she duped a relative of hers into paying 27 payments, totaling £3,670, $4,800. Helen had also approached a former co-worker of her mother's for money, and he too lent her at least £500, $660. People were really buying into all of her BS. Despite all the lies, her mother appeared in court to defend her daughter. According to Judge Timothy Petz, the investigation and prosecution of Helen Williams took an unacceptable amount of time, but imprisonment was unavoidable. Williams was finally sentenced to 2 years and 9 months in prison after confessing to 4 counts of fraud. 1. The stolen ring. Selling a few belongings on the internet is a tried and tested way to make some easy money. However, if the buyer turns up with no money, but a pistol instead, it's likely to scare the crap out of the best of us. A $10,000 engagement ring was reportedly stolen at gunpoint by a person who claimed he was willing to buy it, according to Westfield Police this year. According to Captain Michael McCabe, the seller, who had posted the ring on Craigslist, met the potential buyer in the parking lot of a Friendly's restaurant near the Massachusetts Turnpike entrance. The possible buyer inspected the ring before handing over a black box with the agreed-upon cash amount. What the buyer did next was totally unexpected. He pulled out a revolver and pointed it at the seller. Then he snatched the ring and fled. The only description of the suspect was that he drove a silver car and was last seen around the Springdale Road area. It was a pretty avoidable circumstance with a very predictable ending. Anyone would feel compelled to give up their valuables when there's a gun pointed at their head. When you're short on cash, selling spare items to strangers online seems to be a simple solution. But don't be deceived. It's hard to discern who is real and who is a total fraud just from a Craigslist ad. Stranger danger, people. Stranger danger. Thanks for watching. Which of these stories was the craziest to you? Have you ever been ripped off by someone you met on Craigslist? Let us know about it in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like these. See you next time. Bye.